Last week we got our first look at Star Wars Visions. In my initial breakdown I mentioned that I was unsure about whether or not it would be considered canon. It seems like it's not, but it might be down the line. So I wanted to just expand on that a little more and talk about why I think it's a good thing. An article on StarWars.com says, in developing the series, Lucasfilm made the decision to let creators tell the stories they wanted to tell, whether they featured established or original characters, without a need to tie into the larger chronology. We really wanted to give these creators a wide creative berth to explore all the imaginative potential of the Star Wars galaxy through the unique lens of anime. I read that in my breakdown, and yes, it sounds like a pretty clear-cut statement that this series won't be canon, and it wasn't really made with that intent. So after having some time to ponder it, I'm walking back what I said about how these stories could possibly be highly stylized versions of events that did happen in the galactic timeline. That might still wind up being true, but it doesn't sound like any of these studios went into the project with that in mind. What I mean is, when I watch this show, I will watch it with the understanding that these stories probably didn't happen. But I think it's 100% possible that a future story might come along and reference a character from The Duel, for example, or maybe we'll hear about the band that will be central to the rock opera Tatooine Rhapsody. In fact, I think it's likely something like that will eventually happen. So maybe these characters and the fact that they exist might wind up becoming canon. We know the book Ronin is coming out, which already puts a twist on things. I'm assuming the book is canon for now, so how does that ripple out into the rest of the series? I don't know. But overall, I really like this approach to handling Star Wars Visions. Give the creators full creative control to do whatever they want. They get to present their vision of Star Wars to the world. I'm probably going to really dig some, and some I might not be that into, and I'll get to carry whatever I like forward. Future Star Wars creators are going to be able to do the same. If they really love T0B1, maybe we'll get a mention of the little droid somewhere. I think that's fun. It's a good way to introduce something very different to Star Wars. Visions can test the waters out on some concepts, and if they go over well, maybe we'll see them again. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see there hasn't been any pushback on that idea. At least I haven't seen it. From my corner of the internet, I've mostly seen people saying, okay, this isn't canon, got it, still looks cool, still gonna give it a shot. Sometimes I think people get a little too attached to the idea that a story has to, quote, count for them to give it the time of day. It's been 7 years since the canon reset, and still the first question I get every time something new is announced is it canon? Which I understand. I'm really into the idea of canon and the connected universe and all that. I love making the big timeline video every year, trying to piece it all together, but it's not the end-all be-all of storytelling. Some of my favorite Star Wars stories are still the books I read growing up, books that no longer, quote, count, but they still count to me, and that's all that matters. Not to mention, plenty of canon stories have been written that don't really affect the rest of the timeline. I think Phasma is a great novel, but it had absolutely no effect on The Last Jedi, which makes sense, the book was written after the movie, but I'll always remember the impression I had of Captain Phasma after her book and comic came out. I thought I was being given hints or something on how her story would go in the next movie, but that's not why Delilah Dawson wrote her book or why Kelly Thompson wrote her comic. They just wanted to write a badass story about the character, and they succeeded. Those stories kind of made me adjust the way that I look at the Star Wars canon. Sometimes you can pick up hints of what's to come, but more often than not when I try to do that, I wind up being way off base. I just sometimes wonder what people are looking for when they say they want a story to count. What does that mean exactly? All that to say, I just think it's cool Lucasfilm is willing to branch out away from telling strictly canon stories a bit, just letting creators play and show the audience something wildly different. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I love to see Star Wars swinging for the fences instead of treading the same ground over and over. I still don't really know what to expect from Visions, but the fact that it's going to be so different is what excites me the most. But how are you feeling about Star Wars Visions and its spot, or maybe lack thereof, in canon? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.